Our Mother Earth, full of beauty, and without which we can't live. But what is the present scenario? Air, water, land, sound, all are polluted. So at that moment, our preliminary duty is that we have to protect our environment. And for that purpose, proper knowledge about the environment is very much required. So students, environmental science is not only required for exam purpose, but also it is very much required for each and everyday life. Myself, Tanmoy Dotto, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, JS College of Engineering. Welcome you in my first lecture of Environmental Science, MC 401. And today we will discuss about the first module of the environmental science. This is our syllabus of the first module and these are the topics of the first lecture. So students, now we will move to the board for detailed discussion about the module 1 first lecture, that is the general part of the environment. Now here I will give you a brief outline about the lecture 1 of module 1. MC 401 Environmental Science, and the lecture 1 of the module 1, that is called actually general part. That means the basic concept of the environment. So here at first we will discuss in our board about the brief outline of the each and every topic of the first lecture of general part. Okay, then we will discuss each and every topic in the PowerPoint presentation mode. Okay, so first of all, what is in the first lecture of the general part? So first of all, we will start from the natural resource. Okay, so the first topic of the general part, that starts with the natural resource. So all of you know very well that what is the natural resource. Natural resource means it's very simple. The resource which already present in our nature, that is called natural resource. So natural resource that is classified in the two ways. First of all, that is called renewable resource, and another type that is called non-renewable. So first one is the renewable resource and second one is the non-renewable resource. Now renewable resource. What is the renewable resource? A renewable resource means which cannot be finished. That means if we use the renewable resource, either it will be recycled from time to time, or in the other way, that type of resources should have some kinds of life cycle. So mainly a renewable resource means which will be renewed from time to time. Now if it is recycled, now for example water resource, so that will be recycled from time to time. Another way, if it has such kind of life cycle, for example if you think about the plant, so plant has a particular life cycle, but when one plant will be died, another plant will born. So in that way, it will be also in the category of renewable resource. And another way, there are so many energy sources, that means that is also included in case of renewable resources. For example, solar energy, tidal energy, wind energy, etc., etc. And on the other hand, non-renewable resource. Non-renewable resource means that type of resources that will be finished after some time, after a particular period. For example, if you take the example, that is the fossil fuel. So fossil fuel is the common example of the non-renewable resources. First of all, we will discuss about the chief natural resources. cheap natural resources. So there are so many types of cheap natural resources. We'll discuss one by one. So first one in that category, that is the forest resource. So forest resource is the forest resource. So forest resource is under the category of cheap natural resources. Second one, that is the water resource. You know, water is very much important for our human life or for all the animal world and the plant world. So water resource is the another cheap natural resources. Third one, that is also another important, that is the mineral resource. And the fourth one and the most important one, that is also food resource. That is the food resource. Okay, so that four natural resources are very much important for our daily life. Okay, each and every day for all the animal world, plant world, etc. The forest resource, water resource, mineral resource, and the food resource. Okay, so now each and every resource we will discuss by there are some advantages of using that resource, there are some problems also to use that kind of resources, etc., etc. We will discuss each and every term in details. Forest resources, it is one type of biotic community. It is one type of biotic community where trees are the predominant figure. Okay, that means that community with predominance of the trees. Though trees are not only the resources which we can get from the forest resources, there are so many other types of resources which we can also get from the forest. For example, honey. That is another example of the forest resource. But there predominantly what type of resource we can get from the forest, that is the trees or the in the form of wood or like that. Okay, so forest resource is very much important for our total world. But what is the problem regarding the forest resource? That is the deforestation. Okay, so deforestation is the main problem regarding the forest resource. That is the deforestation. Deforestation is the main problem regarding the forest resource. Okay, so then next is the water resource. All of you know very well that in water resource that 97% of the earth water is the salt water. Okay, and 2% water is 2% water remain in the polar ice caps, and only 1% water is for drinking purpose. So you know, water resource is very much important for our life. Without water we can't live. And water resource, there are two types of water resource also there. One is the groundwater, one is the ground, and another is the surface. So that both types of waters are very much important. Groundwaters are very much important for our drinking purpose, you know, and surface water is another. There is another like agriculture purpose. That is the surface water is the main important resource. Okay, so both groundwater and surface water, that both are important for our life. So water resource is the another resource which is very much important. Mineral resource, you know, that is another type of another category of the resources that is also important. And what is the mineral resource? Mineral resource, it is one type of chemical compound. It is one type of chemical compound which chemical compound. It is one type of chemical compound which occur naturally. Okay, but that kind of minerals are very much important for our life. Okay, mineral resources are different types of mineral resources are also possible, like metals, non-metals, and fuels also, that are also mineral resource. And another most important resource, that is the food resource. And all of you know very well that what is the food. Without food we can't live. There are different kinds of foods are also possible. Like there are some kinds of foods which is produced by nature naturally, and there are other kinds of foods are also there that is produced artificially. So both types of foods are very much important for the human life. Now the next topic is that energy resources. You know, all the living creatures on our earth, either it will be a plant or an animal or microbe, it need energy to perform their vital functions. And you know, our earth is the storehouse of the energy. The fossil fuel under the earth's surface, the wind and the water on its surface, that all are the different kinds of energies. So depending on that facts, energy resource can be classified in the two ways. First one, that is the renewable source of energy. First one, that is the renewable source of energy. And second one, that is the non-renewable source of energy. Non-renewable source of energy. So that mainly two types of classifications are there of energy resource. One is the renewable source of energy, another is the non-renewable source of energy. There are different kinds of renewable energies or different examples of renewable energies. So first one of renewable energy, that is the example of solar energy. Solar energy. So solar energy is the most common example of the renewable energy. Second one is the wind energy. Second one is the wind energy. Third one is the hydropower. Third type of energy is that hydropower energy. And the fourth one is the most important, that is the geothermal energy. Geothermal energy. And the fifth one, that is the biomass energy. Biomass energy. So that are the different kinds of renewable energies. First one is the solar energy, second one is the wind energy, third one is the hydropower energy and geothermal energy, and the last one is the biomass energy. So these are the different kinds of examples of the renewable energy. Then we'll come to the non-renewable energy. So there are also different kinds of non-renewable energy, and the first one is the example of the first one non-renewable energy is that oil. Second one is the natural gas. Natural gas. Third one, that is the coal. So oil, natural gas, coal, and the last one that is most dangerous, that is the nuclear energy. That is the nuclear energy. So that is the examples of renewable energy and non-renewable energy. Renewable energy, that means which can be renewed from time to time. That means which will be one type of never ending. But in case of non-renewable energy, that will be finished after certain time. For example, oil, natural gas, coal, nuclear energy, etc., etc. That each and every examples of renewable energy that has some kinds of positive side and also some kinds of negative side. So when we'll show, I will show you the PowerPoint presentation. I will discuss each and every point in details. Okay, we'll discuss the energy resources depending on the another point of view. That is called conventional and non-conventional source of energy. So conventional and non-conventional source of energy means first one is the conventional source of energy. What is the conventional source of energy? Conventional source of energy means that is the traditional way. That means which energy sources we are using traditionally. That means after year by year that energy sources are using. We are using actually. For common example, you know, that is the fossil fuel. That fossil fuels are we are using regularly, traditionally. So that's why it is called the conventional source of energy. Another very important type of energy, that is called non-conventional. That is non-conventional source of energy. That means that should be used, because that non-conventional source of energy, that is very much important for the future prospect. But that is generally that source of energies are not used, okay, or regularly not used. That's why it is called the non-conventional source of energy. For example, that is the solar energy, wind energy, that are the common sources which we should use, but generally that type of sources are not used. So conventional source of energy, the common example of the conventional source of energy, that is the fossil fuel. That is the fossil fuel. And non-conventional source of energy, the common or the general example is that solar energy. That is the solar energy. Okay. Now we'll move to the last topic of the lecture 1. That is very important, or the steps are very important. So the point is that steps should be taken. The steps should be taken for the conservation of the natural resources. That topic is very important, because if we do not conserve the natural resources, after certain time it will be finished, or if we not used in large amount, in greater amount, the renewable resources, then after some days or some years, all the non-renewable resources will be finished. So that is very important topic that we have to keep in mind, and that is actually our final goal, that gradually we have to convert all types of utilization of non-renewable resources to renewable resources. There are so many positive side of the utilization of renewable resources. That are the first of all, that if we use the renewable resources, there will be minimum amount of environmental pollution. That is the most important point of the most positive side of the utilization of the renewable resources. Another important side of that, the cost of the utilization of renewable resources, in maximum cases, not each and every case, in maximum cases, the cost of the utilization of renewable resources will be comparatively lower with respect to non-renewable resources. So there are such kind of points which we have to keep in mind, and if we follow that steps, then we can it is possible the conservation of the natural resources. So now we'll move to the PowerPoint presentation from the board for detailed discussion each and every topic. So let's go to the PowerPoint presentation. Now we'll discuss each and every topic in details. So look at here, it is the natural resource, and first of all I will tell you what is the resource. Actually, resource means it is anything which we use for our purpose, that is called a resource. So it may be materials or may not be materials. For example, if we consider the food, then it is also one type of resource, that is in the category of materials. Sunlight, it is not the materials, it is the energy, but it is also required for our purpose. So that is also called a resource. And simply look here, that what is the natural resource? Natural resource means it is the substances which comes from the nature, that means which is produced by nature. For example, forest, water, air, soil, that all are in the categories of the natural resource. Now, natural resources are mainly two types. That is the renewable resource. It is the renewable resource, and another is the non-renewable resources. Renewable resources, that are the plants, animals, solar energy, wind energy, that all are in the category of the renewable resources. And non-renewable resources that cannot be replaced during the time of a human lifespan. So that all are in the category of non-renewable resources. So for example, coal, that are the non-renewable resource. That means after certain years, that will be obviously finished. That are the minerals that all are in the category of the non-renewable resources. So there are a few examples of cheap natural resources that are the forest resources, water resources, mineral resources, and the food resources. So these are the categories of the natural resources that are the forest, water, mineral, and the food resources. So now we'll discuss each and every resource in details, because there are some resources which is very much required for our life. For example, forest resources. So if you think about the forest resources, it is the it provide the protection against the soil erosion. Also, it supply the honey, that is the most important thing which come from the forest. And another thing, forest provides various products like gum resin, like different kinds of medicines, like pulp, like bamboo, like timber, like different kinds of fruits, that all are that all come from the forest resources. That another thing also, that forest that actually maintain the balance in between oxygen and the carbon dioxide. That is the main important thing of our environment, that forests are mainly responsible for the maintaining of that oxygen and the carbon dioxide. So that means that it also helps to maintain a balance in the atmosphere. Another very important purpose of the forest resource, that forest different kinds of flora and fauna that also exist in the forest. So we have to, our main duty is to, we have to protect the forest. But there are some problems that when we follow the deforestation, like that in the time of due to urbanization, so we have to cut all the trees. Okay, so that deforestation is the major problem. If deforestation continues, then what happen actually, that the balance in oxygen and carbon dioxide, that will not be maintained properly. And another reason, that nowadays the temperature of the earth is increasing, the global warming, that all are responsible for the deforestation. Okay, so there are different kinds of problems regarding the wildlife also hampered, like the wild animals and plants that are also disappeared due to that deforestation, land degradation, the loss of forest products which we get from the forest, that are also either any kind of problem arise that we are not getting from the forest. And there are some kinds of climate conditions which are changing, that is also one of the reason for the deforestation. Another resource is that water resource. Okay, so that water resource very much important for the life in the earth. Water resource, that only 1% water is available for the drinking purpose. So if we do not use the water properly, then what happen? Then after certain years, the groundwater will be finished. Already the level of the groundwater, that is also decreasing. The thing is that surface water, mainly source of water, there are two types, that is, one is the groundwater, another is the surface water. So surface water is another thing which is very much useful for different kind of purposes. One is the agriculture purpose. Okay, so but that there is also a different kinds of problems, that if we do not use properly the surface water, then also after certain years it creates some problems, or the water will be polluted. And there's an important term that when we define the surface water and the groundwater, that is the aquifer. Okay, it's an underground layer of water bearing permeable rock, from which groundwater can be usefully extracted using water well. So that is mainly a source of the groundwater. There is some problem regarding the overutilization of groundwater and surface water. So both the waters we have to use properly, otherwise it is not possible to get the regular source of the water. Then the next is that mineral resource. Mineral resources are also very much important, that mineral resource naturally occurring chemical compounds. There are different types of chemical compounds, like if it is a metal, then there are different kinds of metals are there, like copper, nickel, gold, silver, iron. That may also be non-metals, like their sand, their clay, their limestone, there may be salt, or there are some kinds of fuels are also included in that category, like oil, gases, coals, etc. So that minerals are very much important, and we collect from the earth crust that minerals. And if we take the minerals regularly, that means due to over exploitation of the mineral resource, there may be some kinds of problems. Like, to collect the minerals, then what happens? We have to destroy the forest. So destruction of the forest, that is the problem for the extra over exploitation of the mineral resource. Soil erosion, that is another problem. Soil erosion is also comes from the over exploitation of the mineral resource. Then there is some kinds of water, lower the water table also, that occurrence of some kinds of earthquake and the volcanic events that are also created due to over exploitation of the mineral resource. So anything, if we use it excessive way, it may be any kind of resource, or if we not follow the proper guideline for the extraction or the utilization of that particular resource, that may cause some kinds of problem. It may be mineral resource, it may be other resource. Next is very important, that is food resource. All of you know very well, resources are very important for our life, and that food gets some kinds of energy to our body, by which we can continue our daily work. But that problem, that regarding, that world food crisis, there's a report that one people out of 7 people suffers from the hunger. Okay, that is the overall world scenario of the regarding the food crisis. That is also another problem. And food may be naturally produced, it may be artificially, but the problem regarding the hunger, that over in overall world, that problem is rising gradually. So that we have to solve actually regarding the food resource. Then we'll move to the next topic, that is the energy resource. So energy resource, that is another important thing, that all the living creatures in our earth, it may be plant, it may be animals, it may be microbes, that all types of living organism in our earth, that should need some kinds of energy. Okay, so for to continue or to perform their vital functions. And the earth is the storehouse of the energy, and then we can collect that energy from the earth source. It may be from the crust of the earth in the form of fossil fuel, it may be sunlight, or it may be plants which is growing on the earth. We collect the energy. But there are two types of energy mainly. One is the renewable source of energy, another is the non-renewable source of energy. If we consider renewable source of energy, then first of all, that is the solar energy. So solar energy, there are some solar panels which is very much required for the conversion of the solar energy to electrical energy. The research is going on, and each and every time we are trying to be more cheaper to get the solar energy. So generally what happened, it is just, sun is a powerful source of energy. So obviously that source of energy, or that energy gradually converted into the electrical energy, and which is stored for some times. Then after some times, when it is required from that source of the energy, it distributed throughout the houses or industry or like that. But there are some positive sides and negative sides of the utilization of solar energy. Positive side, there are so many positive sides also there. Like, we can save the money, because each and every day the electricity bill is gradually increasing. So if we one time install the solar energy, the electricity bill will be a little bit lower. And obviously it is the green energy, green source of energy, so there is no scope of the environmental pollution. And another thing is that there is no chance of the finishing of the energy. That means there is no scope of that. The solar is infinity. That energy is infinity. There is no such kind of thing happen that the energy will be finished. But there are also some negative points of the till now of the regarding the solar energy. So first of all, that maintenance, that is the main problem regarding the solar energy. That installation process is not so much simple, and at the time of installation also there is some cost is the high cost is required. And there is a myth also that it will not be useful to utilize after 3 to 4 years or 5 years. So that's why it is not so much famous at that moment. Like if we use continuously the electricity that comes from the non-renewable resource like coal or like that, so that will be finished after a few years or one time. But if we use the solar energy, there is no scope of ending of that finished. That will not be finished after a certain time. So more and more the research should be in the solar energy. Next, wind energy. So in case of wind energy, the electrical energy that is obtained from wind or the windmills, that will be converted in the form of mechanical energy. That means the kinetic energy that comes from the wind turbines, that is converted to the mechanical energy. All of you know very well, winds are caused by uneven heating of the atmosphere by the sun, the irregularities of the earth's surface and the rotation of the earth. That are mainly a reason for the generation of the wind. Now, when that wind flow, that turbines are rotating, and from that turbines, the kinetic energy will be converted to the mechanical energy. There's some positive and negative side of the wind energy. So positive side is very simple, that you know that wind energy is totally green source. It is a green source that does not create any kind of pollution. The potential of the wind power is enormous. That is the 20 times more than what the entire human population needs. But there are some negative sides also there. Side is that wind energy or wind that is fluctuating. That is a fluctuating source of energy. So that creates some kinds of problem. That means that need some kinds of fixed batteries or the pumped hydro or like that. Otherwise it is not possible to directly supply the energy. Another thing is that the manufacturing and the installation of the wind turbines that require the heavy investment. Wind turbines can be a threat to the wildlife like birds, bats. For that animals, wind turbines are a threat. So that are the positive and negative side of the wind energy. Now we'll move to the hydropower. Hydropower energy is the energy that derived from the falling water or the running water. Falling water is channeled through water turbines. The pressure of the flowing water on turbine blades drives electrical generator, converting the motion of the electrical energy. This is the enormous source by which we can generate the energy. So hydropower also have some kinds of positive side and the negative side. So positive side is that hydroelectricity is very reliable energy. There are very little fluctuation. Or another thing is that adjusting water flow and output of electricity is very much easy. At times where power consumption is low, water flow is reduced and the magazine level are being conserved for times when the power consumption is high. So that is the positive sides of the hydropower. Another thing is that there's some negative side also. The hydroelectric power plant may affect fish. That is the very problem of that hydropower plant. It's not only fish, there are some kinds of aquatic animals also. That for that aquatic animals, the hydropower plant may be some kinds of dangerous things. And another thing is that the building power plants is generally very much expensive. That is the very important point, very negative point. More research is required regarding that fact, that at the first time when we construct the hydropower plant, there is a huge money is required. That is very much required for the construction of the hydropower plant. So that is the another problem regarding the hydropower. So another important thing is that geothermal energy. Geothermal energy, that is the thermal energy generated from the stored in the earth. Thermal energy is the energy that determines the temperature of matter. The geothermal energy of the earth crust that originates from the original formation of the planet. And the geothermal gradient, which is different in temperatures between the cores of the planet and its surface, drives a continuous conduction of thermal energy in the form of heat from the core of the surface. There are also some positive side and the negative side of geothermal energy. So first of all, no fuel required. That is the big advantages of using the geothermal energy, and not subject to some fluctuation as the solar energy or the wind energy. That is the advantages over the utilization of solar energy and the wind energy. Limitless supply of the geothermal energy, that is another advantage. But there are some kinds of negative sides also. The prime sides are often from population centers. That is the main negative point of geothermal energy. Losses due to long distance transmission of electricity, sulfur dioxide and silica. There are some cases also, some examples also there when we are collecting the geothermal energy, then sulfur dioxide and silica that are also emitted. Biomass energy, that is the energy generated or produced by living or once living organisms. That means we can generate the energy from different kinds of either living or once living at that moment. It is not the living being, for example the dead body of the plants, okay, or dead body of the any other animals. From there we can collect the energy. And popular or common type of biomass energy is that it is the biogas. When we generate the biogas, it's also organic materials. From organic materials we are generating some kinds of energy. So there are different kind of source from where we can collect the energy. So that is called, or that are called actually biomass energy. That will convert it when it is burnt, or the energy of this organism can be burned to create the heat, or it is converted to the electricity. So that is the biomass energy. So next we'll move to the non-renewable source that is also majorly used at that moment, and without which we also at that moment we can't think about. The first is that oil. So oils we are using each and every day, like gasoline, like heating oil, like diesel fuel are the primary uses of the resources. Although manufacturers utilize oil as the base for such products as plastics and industrial chemicals. So first one is the oil, second one is the natural gas. Natural gas is fossil fuel formed when layers of buried plants, gases and animals are exposed to intense heat and pressure over thousands of years. So in that process we are collecting the natural gas. The energy that the plants originally obtained from the sun is stored in the form of chemical bonds in natural gas. It is primarily composed of like butane, methane, ethane also there. Main component is maximum cases, the maximum percentage there will be methane, and also there is a mixture of different gases like propane, butane also. So in that way we collect actually natural gas. And next one is that coal. All of us very know that without coal at that moment we can't think the world. But the problem is that if we continuously use the energy from the coal, like to generate the electricity or like that, after few years the source of the energy will be finished. Okay, so that is the major problem, that at that moment it is the primary resource of energy also for India. And global supply of coal, given the current rate at which it is used, should last at least 2 more centuries. So that's why we have to think about that resource. That is very important resource. But due to over-utilization of coal, or if we do not think about the other resources to generate the electricity, after certain years or maximum 2 more centuries, after 2 more centuries, the resource will be finished. Next, nuclear energy, nuclear power plant, that is also big source of energy. Nuclear power or nuclear energy is the use of exothermic nuclear process to generate useful heat and the electricity. Fusion is the major process. With that, some kinds of fusion also there. Actinide series of the periodic table elements participate in that fusion reaction that produce a vast majority of the nuclear energy in the direct service of the humankind. Then there is another point of view of the classification of the energy. That is, one is the conventional and another is the non-conventional source of energy. Conventional source of energy that we conventionally use, that means what resources we are using at that moment. For example, fossil fuel. What we discussed till now, there are so many fossil fuels are there, like coal, petrol, etc., etc. That is the conventional way. That means that is very much common. At that moment we are using that kind of resources. So that's why it is called the conventional energy sources. Another thing, non-conventional energy sources. That means that kind of energy resource we should use, but it is not so much common at that moment due to different kinds of problems. But that is the future of the energy source. That means, solar energy, wind energy, that never be finished. So we have to think about more and more non-conventional energy resource. And finally, we have to think about some steps by which we can conserve the natural resources. That is, first of all, we already discussed that we have to think more and more about the renewable resources, and we have to use in proper way. Use various resources only it is needed when. That means in proper way by maintaining some guidelines. We have to use that resources. Avoid wastage of resources. That is another point. Avoid the use of materials from wildlife sources. That is also important thing, that which is very much important for wildlife. That should not be overused. That is another thing. Most important thing is that we should find out a proper recycle method. That means waste not only means that 100% is waste. So if we follow some proper recycling process, we can recollect or regenerate that energy of the resources again, somewhat at least. So that proper recycling method we should follow. So that are the steps which we have to follow. And this is all about your first lecture. And now I'm summarizing the overall topic what we discussed till now. So first we discussed about the different kinds of natural resources, like starting from forest resources, water resources, mineral resources, and the food resources. Then we discussed about the energy resources. There are different kinds of energy resources: solar energy, wind energy, hydropower energy, geothermal energy, non-renewable source of energy like oil, natural gas, coal, nuclear energy. We discussed in details about each and every renewable and non-renewable energy sources. There are some positive sides and negative sides also. And then we discussed about some kinds of conventional resources, that means conventionally what we use, and non-conventional energy resources. And finally, we discussed about that what steps should be taken for the conservation of the natural resources. So that's all about today's topic. You have to follow the assignments. There are a few questions regarding the lecture 1 or from the lecture 1. You can take a screenshot. You can pause the video and take a screenshot. In the next class, lecture 2, first of all I will discuss about the questions, then I will move to the lecture 2. Thank you all for attending my class. Thanks again.